Okay, welcome back. We are into the last segment of the program here on New Day KE, and we do cherish your company. And as we head towards the last tail end of the program in the last couple of minutes, I just wanted to seek the sentiments of the Honorable Speaker, Nairobi County Assembly, Beatrice Elachi, about the story on the front page of the Standard newspaper about the sampled 126 countries, and Kenya ranks among the worst when it comes to the adherence to the rule of law. And of course, this throws the mud into the face of the President of the Judiciary, David Kinani Maraga. Interestingly, there's an ongoing judges conference in Mombasa County where they are set to review the performance of the judiciary, the digitization, amid accusations of it being the missing link in the fight against corruption. Honorable Elachi, coming to you then first here. Is this a reflection of perhaps the real reality in the country and the fact that at some point even the President castigated the Maraga-led arm of the government, that it was indeed so lenient in terms of issuing bail terms and in the fight against corruption? Is this a reflection, is this an outcome of the deeply held suspense that Kenyans had of the third arm of the government?
Well, I would want to say, I know we have a few good judges. Let us start from there. We have a few good judges who are trying their best, but who will also find a lot of resistance, because the process of court in Kenya on how corruption works is very interesting. It starts with the clerk in the court of the judge.
Yes.
If the judge doesn't take bribe, the clerk will come and tell you, you know, I've been sent by the judge. Yeah. And maybe it is a lie. So if now they want to clean their whole arm, you will have to start with your clerks, who are the ones who collude with the lawyers, who are the ones, you can't believe that in today's world, a judge is writing the judgment, the clerk will type the words differently on what you have just heard from the judge. And I'm telling you, that will be your judgment, and it will end that way. So you'll be fighting and wondering what I heard the judge say. And nowadays, I always tell Kenyans, can you even go with tapes, put there, so that when whoever is doing the judgment, record that judgment, so that when you look at what they have typed, and this has happened in a land case in Kakamega, here in Nairobi, I have seen it all. I walked into a court. We were dealing with a very open issue. And for me, I was so happy. Oh, the judge is a woman. I said, wow, fantastic. But I was shocked that we changed everything, just the wordings. Lawyers will tell you a book is a report. And you are wondering, what are you talking about? And we had to spend 11 million buying reports from the Law Review of Kenya, an agent of government with an agent of government. And the judge was okay with that. And he said, no, there was nothing wrong. There were books. They're called books. I was left amazed. And I left there telling them, I sympathize with my president, because he will have the best DPP, the best DCI, but the day he walks into this court, the things are done. That is why a case can be dragged for 10 years. And I think that is why, as women, we are saying, yes, we will want to see a change. We want, just the way we do election cases, yes, that is how corruption cases must be done. Yes, and you can give them also an option of, if you know you have proceeds of corruption, you don't need to even go to court. You can just go to EACC, discuss with them, and say, this is what I know is mine. Leave me with a matrimonial home for my children. The rest, I return to government. I think that's where we are in the whole murky. Now, I sympathize with Maraga, because you can imagine in the US when the defense stands and says, why these Akashas were just left for 25 years doing drugs. It's because the norm of Kenya is a corrupt country.
Culture.
I mean, that was the saddest part in the whole history of Kenya.
Well, yes, how do we get to root out this culture, Shafi? Because it starts from that level of the chief, by the way, whatever Mheshimiwa is putting out. You know, the frustration starts at that level within the village. You're getting your case to the chief.
The headman.
Yes, you're frustrated. You have to actually service, as a person who's going to report, you have to service the movement of the chief, the movement of the officers down there, so that they can help you get justice. And is it a question of inheriting institutions that are already corrupt? So in as much as maybe a petitioner would go to court and say that we want to get Maraga out of this because he failed to sort of constitute a bench to determine a certain case or to address a case that has been presented before. He just inherited something that was corrupt. And he is in here. How best can he come in to solve the whole situation?
And he's about to leave.
In a cartel-driven. He's actually exiting the stage. He's going to leave it for somebody else.
Okay. I would like to support Madam Speaker here. We have a problem with the judiciary. Maraga came in, and remember, there was somebody else.
Willie Mutunga.
Willie Mutunga. At least Willie Mutunga have brought a lot of change in judiciary. But when Maraga comes in, he started very nicely. You remember the
so much hope,
presidential election. Give us a lot of hope, but all of a sudden, things have changed. To me, I am sort of, is it Maraga also in a handshake?
You can't beat them, you join them?
Exactly.
The case?
Yeah, because also government have a problem.
Yeah.
You see, when they allocate money to judiciary, they allocate little money so that Maraga can come out and chase for other money. So I think to one point, Maraga have been told, if you cannot bend for this money, then that's it. So in court, I can attest to that. I had a case in court where the clerk does his thing, and to the end of it, when we are going to court with my lawyer, the other lawyer stood up and said, no, those guys have no time. They did not follow procedure, so it is only for you, Your Honor, to roll out the case. So we have some good judges.
All right.
Where the judge comes in and tell them, listen, you guys, don't bring your corrupt practices in this court. And they gave us a ruling in favor of us. So we have all those problems. If you go to, you talk of Supreme Court, you remember the ruling of the hijab at Garissa.
Garissa.
How can we call that ruling? That is a political ruling. If you go to that case of governor, is it Wajir?
Yes, yes.
Governor. Just look at that ruling. Is that ruling?
It's preposterous.
That is not a ruling.
Yeah, for Wajir.
Yes, the governor, the judgment said that the governor, despite not having a degree, the majority did say that
Acting
he
like-
behaved like a governor.
So you see that kind of things. We have problem with our judiciary.
Okay.
And
So we
to
agree
an
that we are
ordinary-
in this list
Exactly,
genuinely.
we are genuinely.
Our systems are.
And then there's other things. You know, we are UN, there's a UN chartered, international obligations. We have a NIMS case right now. One of the first petitioner is me. When the other side, a respected counsel came out and stated very clearly, because one of my evidence was the African court ruling for the Nubian's child. You see, that guy say, this is a decision. We cannot go with it. So what are you telling us as a judiciary?
Okay, Daktari, let me loop you in then. We clearly had this sentence happen in New York where one of the Akasha brothers was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Maybe he'll come out sometime in 2044 by the grace of God. But interestingly, what transpired in the courtroom was equally one that appalled the nation with regard to the deep culture of corruption in this country. Again, it comes at a time when the budget of the judiciary was slashed by Parliament from more than 30 billion to 18 billion. Did that contribute to the constraints that we continue to experience? And how does that perhaps, is it acting like a sense of a setback in terms of the judiciary undertaking its functions across the country?
I don't think it affected, because when you talk of judiciary or anything to do with the wrongdoings, something that can affect our children, there should be that word, integrity. Whether you are paid less, whether you are paid what, whether you are the salary is slashed or what, or the budget, have that integrity. A person of integrity is someone worthwhile to be emulated. Now, because now, what is that telling us now? That somewhere in US, they are seeing a culture in us where you are a drug baron, and you are having security. Actually, you are having
19
issue
official.
guarding you. What are they guarding? So that means that with money in Kenya, you can buy this, the security agencies, you can have a bodyguard, you can own guns. Actually, you have an armory in your house, and you can kill your competitors the way you want, and nothing happens. So, and you live in luxurious homes around the country. So it's so unfortunate. But again, on judiciary, I have some. I want to support them a little bit because the blame game also goes to the prosecution.
Exactly.
Because when you talk of the case of Wajir, the prosecution could have come up with another count of forgery. So that when you escape the other one, there's another one waiting for you. So it depends on what you have been charged with. The first one is you didn't have a certificate, but what did you present? You must have presented a document to IEBC, which was a forgery. Forgery is criminal. If the judge had that, so what the prosecution initially do to make the case weak is to give one count.
All right.
But if they want it to be strong, they will give you actually 16 counts. If you escape one, there is another one, forgery, blah, 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 all that, up to the end. So I want the prosecution to have a very solid case so that the judge can now have a room to say that if the judges, there are criminal lawyers who know how to go about that. If you escape the first one, you can't escape the third and the fourth and the fifth. And actually, office of the DPP should be strengthened because you might find that only the DPP is someone who is very serious. There are people below him who work with him who can do something that they can work, cut corners, and then at the end of the day, the person is.
Do we have
is
capacity to
relieved.
sustain that? Looking at the backlog of cases that we fight with in our very own judiciary today, what is the capability of us sustaining, one session to another one to another one? Yet the very first sessions is even hard to get.
I think it's the will, because why is the election petition taken care of? Very fast. There is a special prosecutor, there is a special, the clerical work is those. So it's just the will of the president of the judiciary to say that we are now prioritizing like this, and then he asks for the budget.
Okay.
Okay, Honorable Elachi.
But I think, for me, now that they're in Mombasa, I just feel that, one, where we went wrong again is to decide that the Judicial Service Commission can decide their own boss. We must remove that. We must go back to a place where you are given a panel and the panel is select, because what they do now is to bring the weakest to become their boss. So that, and then if you are sitting on the Judicial Service Commission, then you don't need to practice because you have employed the judges. When you walk in court, you intimidate the same judge. Yeah, so he's wondering, this is my boss now, I have to please him with this case. The other thing we must agree that anybody who sat and listens to Akasha's case in this country must be leaving the judiciary now. I know. Any judge who did that, because what you have done to Kenya is that if Shafi today walks into the US, the first thing they look at you as a corrupt. That's your passport. So now you have to go through a lot of scrutiny. And where are you going? What are you going to do? I mean, you have put Kenyans into a very awkward situation. And the other thing, we cannot blame, the case of Wajir was the worst case for the Supreme Court. They must accept their mistake. First of all, I don't know why they went to verify certificates, because in their court, they are not supposed to verify certificates.
That's not in the
It should have ended the way the Court of Appeal had said. And they would have just told them, we agree with the Court of Appeal
and the High Court.
And the High Court. And finish. Because now they became also a court where they listen to cases. Look at how it has marked them. For me, the Supreme Court should remain a place where we go for interpretation of our Constitution and the presidential cases. The rest, let them always return it to the Court of Appeal for their own sake and for the transparency, accountability, and also for people to trust that the people who sit at the highest court are people who when the country is on fire,
Yes.
are the
Are the
only ones we
ones,
can
yeah,
run.
we can
Now
run.
today, people will prefer the Court of Appeal.
We have a problem with the division of
Than
revenue
the
bill.
Supreme Court.
Going to
And
the
the
Supreme
revenue
Court,
bill.
we did not get answers.
Yes.
We're going back
so
there
for
on
me,
September.
the Court of Appeal
The
is
9th.
even more, I mean, it's a court you can trust than now the Supreme Court. And it's because they decided to enter into cases that were never theirs.
All right. Shafi, then I'll come to you. Of course,
On the question, yeah.
most of us here on the roundtable have experienced how these cases do unravel in the courts of law. And equally, this comes at a time when literally the third arm of the government is under a lot of pressure in terms of upping its game. And of how much reputational stake can this be to the judiciary and the Maraga-led third arm of the government, and to many Kenyans, to the millions who have viewed this arm of the government as the last bastion of hope. Isn't this perhaps a detriment to them?
Of course, yes. And first of all, Maraga has to understand what is independence. Judiciary has to be independent. And the second thing, we've witnessed the transfer of some of the judges.
Right.
They're removing the best judges from the constitutional judges, taking them to Machakos, taking them to Kajiado. All those things are the ones which are bringing corruption back into the judiciary, because they are giving us very weak judges. For example, the case I have right now for 3 bench judges, we are yet to see what the outcome will. So it is for Maraga to put his house in order and to understand his role exactly how my honorable speaker here has put. And that's it. Because for how long will we be living as a country being blamed like what we have seen right now here? So it is for him to clean himself and to come out and tell the world, here I am.
All right, we can only hope that they get to sanitize themselves. The director says that it's important we do not exit this stage before addressing the question of Kibra. And now that, of course, members of his constituents will be going for that particular by-election on the 7th, as, of course, declared by the IEBC, 7th of November. And equally, you're the Speaker of Nairobi. We certainly would wish to hear what you have to say about this. A lot of controversy and a lot of differences and equally interesting times for the people of Kibra. What do you make of all this hullabaloo in terms of politics?
For me, I would, if it was my wish, I would have left the office of Ken Okoth to finalize their term.
Okay.
But because it's politics and everyone wants to go in, it is very sad. But I would hope that in the end, let us not go there just because there is a by-election in Kibra. And so the person who understands Kibra is a person who has lived in Kibra.
Exactly.
And who knows the challenges. I cannot leave Dagoretti North and now say, I am headed to
Crossing over
Kibra.
to Kibra.
I don't
There's
know
a-
anything. I don't know anything
With the
about
blessings
Kibra.
of your party.
Yeah, it's wrong. So for me, even the parties that are just throwing people to go there, the parties are doing wrong. Because we know very well, if the person you're giving the ticket lives in Kibra, then it is okay for the party to do that.
No.
But don't bring us somebody from another constituency who won't even vote.
Right.
That thing of Governor Waitito did in Kabete should
Kabete.
not happen again. We should, yes, we should discourage that thing. It is not right for even the people of Kibra that you are just coming. So when you get in,
I know.
I think the office of Ken had a team, and among them, one can pick and understand the vision that Ken had, where the donors used to come for, especially for the children who used to go to school. For me, that is my prayer for Kibra. But I hope they can also agree, whoever will go into the field, they will have peace to themselves and really campaign for the unity of Kibra, but not to go there and fight again.
Well, the
within.
Constitution calls for a by-election, which
Yeah.
is pretty much necessary. And
Necessary,
this way,
yes.
we're very much curtailed. So we've witnessed how the transitioning of, that level of the government, or the governor, is pretty easy, because we see, from the governor, it's the deputy. Do you suppose then we should probably amend something small in terms of addressing these particular levels of by-elections, because they've caused shambles, the numerous that we've witnessed today, to a point of where we've gone against, I would say, probably gone against what would consider as democracy. Because when you say that one party now has to shelve their interest because of another party, then what happens to the common Mwananchi who wants to go out there and exercise their democratic right?
So I believe in democracy, and the way the governors, there is a bill of the Council of Governors, the County Governments Act, which talks of wherever the governor passes on, or incapacitated or somebody convicted, someone just take over automatically. For the MPs, that's a different one. It's more of a small caucus for a constituency. And I believe in going back to nomination. We need back to go and the people of Kibra, I know they know what they want. So them, they're the people to come up with somebody and say that we are going to the ballot to nominate so-and-so, and at the end of the day, they get somebody whom they like and whom knows every corner of Kibra
Right.
and the needs of the people of Kibra.
All right.
Yeah.
And better understand the dynamics literally, taking over from where candidly, of course,
Okay,
Shafi.
I am a Kiberian.
Perfectly placed. Are
I
you
have a vote for
Kibera.
Kibra.
Yes, you're the only voter on this.
I am the one who voted Ken Okoth in, and I'm still mourning. Ken Okoth was a young man. I'm calling him a young brother. Ken Okoth has really changed Kibra. We had about 5 MPs behind, starting with Murumbi, coming to Leki,
Until
going
further-
to Mwangi
until
Maathai, until Raila Odinga. Let me assure you, all those 5 MPs have done totally nothing in Kibra. But when Ken came in, Ken was a Christian, but Ken was entering mosque. Ken was sitting with Muslims during the weddings. During bazaars, Ken used to call me Shafi, come Shafi, and call his manager, give Shafi this list, let him go through it, see if it has been balanced. So you see, that is the type of leader we are looking for. And from the Ken CDF team, the committee, of course, yes, and especially the brother Imran. He was the manager. Those are the guys who are taking care of those things when Ken was sick. For about a year, Ken was not in. But Ken has done tremendous. And Ken has left something like Kibera Secondary School, which is unfinished, but that is a real school, not just a school which you go buy this substandard, whatever, and put down there. Ken has put the 4-story, but you can remove the roof and add it to 10 or 20. I witnessed that. So we've seen, right now, we are looking for who is to succeed Ken. And we are requesting Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga not to give us anybody coming from outside Kibra. We want Kiberians, we know Kiberians. And we want somebody who will put his leg into Ken's shoe and finish the unfinished job for Honorable Ken. Yeah.
Okay, and of course, we are looking into the dynamics also because there's equally the presence of the political twists regarding the 2022 election. The Jubilee Party at some point, to quote Senator Johnson Sakaja, who said that in honor of the late Ken, we might not field a candidate, as was the case in Ugenya and Embakasi South by elections. But do we have time, Madam Director?
About 3 minutes or so.
About 3 minutes, then we can get the final sentiments of Dr. Nahashon, 1 minute each, and the Honorable Beatrice Alacha, and then come to finish up with Shafi Ali.
Right.
Dr. Ali.
Mine is to the senators and the MPs. My request is that on the division of revenue bill, let's come to an end and release money to the counties. Let the county government be paid, and let the devolution continue.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Honorable Elachi, on a devolution while the stalemate.
I was just even looking at the story. I would plead. I know I could see, but I would say, let the governors take what is there, and then continue with dialogue on the 19 billion. Honestly, you cannot reject 316 for 19. I mean, it is not being even fair now to the counties.
Right.
So why can't, within the agreements they will have, write down so that if any of them will play cheeky, you will go back to the document and say, we agreed, we are taking what we have, and when the supplementary budget comes in, the 19 billion will be part of the supplementary. And I think we close this because it is now hurting the counties, and you'll find now services are not working at the counties, especially the small counties that really rely on these resources. I think it is important now. Yeah.
Okay, Shafi, your final remarks.
Mine, we are in a democratic state. we have to work with the rule of law. We have to start seriously do our things according to the law. We need to stop this violation of laws and mutilation of the Constitution. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. In the middle, Honorable Beatrice Elachi, Nairobi is Speaker, or Nairobi County Speaker. And of course, on my farthest left is Shafi Ali, who's the Chairman, Nubian Rights Forum. Thank you so much for your sentiments. And right next to me, Dr. Nahashon Moitelel, who's equally always a policy expert right here on ground and giving us great sentiments as we have discussed the issues that are of importance to the people of Kenya. I think it's important now that we call it a day. You've picked what is necessary. You can always grab this conversation on our YouTube page. It was great having you. And of course, equally the callers, the people who are at home, you've taken us through this session. And we say asante sana this morning. And we'll get to see you again tomorrow as we discuss matters economy, of course, right here in the country. My name is Linda Alala. Throw it back to Ayub.
Yes, and thank you. My name is Ayub Abdikadir Abdi. Winnie will be here with my doctor in about an hour's time. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Good morning.